Welcome back to Phase 2, and also welcome to your first VATSIM relevant ATPL topic. You need to have an understanding from the perspective of the pilot how the blind journey goes as a pilot descending an IMC and how you need to handle his path. This is a short but important thing to understand, and that's why we'll start this with a lesson about MSA. Let's first start with what it even means. MSA stands for Minimum Sector Altitude or Minimum Safe Altitude, and is the definition of how low an aircraft can fly in order to ensure clearance to either terrain or man-made obstacles. Remember, as an aircraft is flying towards a point, it's unable to know which obstacles and terrain may be lying below. So having an idea of how high to fly is imperative, and equally imperative is it that you, as a controller, are able to descend an aircraft accordingly. So let's do some definitions here. MSA is used in a circle equal to 25 nautical miles around the airport, showing an altitude which gives you 1,000 feet clearance to all terrain and obstacles. Here in Aalborg, the MSA is written as 2,000 feet. This is because terrain is rising to a maximum of 1,000 feet, and with an additional 1,000 feet of margin, it means that 2,000 is the minimum sector altitude. All places except the southwest. This is because there's a high obstacle here, a mast of 1,222 feet, let's round that up to 1,300, plus 1,000 feet of margin, meaning MSA to the southwest is 2,300 feet. And indeed it is. So, what else do we have of definitions? MEA, the MEA. If an aircraft is flying on a specific airway, that airway has a specific MEA, meaning minimum en route altitude. Often for the approach controller, this is not really important. Instead, you have MORA, standing for minimum off-route altitude. This is when you move more than 25 nautical miles away from the airport without being on a specific airway. You need to always respect this altitude. This is normally less relevant to you since most of your area of responsibility are within 25 nautical miles, but this is what a pilot needs to adhere to. MSA, MEA, and MORA. MEA for when flying between two waypoints on an airway. MORA for when you are not on an airway but flying towards some waypoint. And MSA once you are within 25 nautical miles of the airport. All these terms, MSA, MEA, MORA, they all provide 1,000 feet of margin unless the terrain is 6,000 feet or higher, in which case you will actually have 2,000 feet margin provided. Luckily, Denmark is not that high, so you can just assume 1,000 feet margin included for all MORA, MEAs, and MSAs. Now, what is so important about the MSA? Well, you must always, as a controller, know the MSA of the airport you are controlling, because you are simply not allowed to descend any aircraft below that altitude. If you do, you will get a warning in your gyroscope called MSAW, Minimum Safe Altitude Warning. Once after an aircraft is established within the procedure, then minimum altitudes are defined within that procedure and outlined in the vertical profile. This will all be explained in detail in another lesson. However, before reaching the beginning of that procedure, you must adhere your descents to MSA, or an altitude that's higher than that. Does that mean you are never allowed to descend below the MSA then? Well, yeah, you can, when on radar vectors. When you are providing an aircraft with radar vectors, you simultaneously take the complete responsibility for its terrain and obstacle clearance. This means if we go back to our example in Aalborg, you can descend the aircraft below 2,300 feet in the southwestern sector, but you have to be very sure where that obstacle is precisely located to ensure horizontal separation. So therefore, in this sector, maybe don't take that risk. Make sure to adhere to the minimum altitudes. Do not descend the aircraft lower than what is considered safe. You may now continue with the rest of the lesson. Thanks for watching and enjoy your course.